Studies show that Black women are more likely to die from breast cancer than white women. But why is that? Here to discuss how these racial disparities are being addressed by ensuring tests work equally across diverse patient populations is Dr. Sonia Reed, along with Alicia Sonder, who is a breast cancer survivor herself. Welcome to the both of you. And Dr. Reed, I wanted to start with you. What has been the current state of breast cancer rates?
So, approximately 300,000 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer this year. And while breast cancer incidence rates among Black and white women are similar, mortality rates are very different. Black women are actually 40% more likely to die of breast cancer than white women. And we know that the reasons for some of these racial survival disparities are quite complex, and they range from factors that really tied to socioeconomic issues to access to care, but also there are differences in tumor biology that also play a role. We know that Black women have a disproportionately higher risk of having aggressive breast cancers because of their biology. We also know that Black women are significantly more likely to have genomically high risk hormone receptor positive tumors compared to white women, despite having the same clinical features.
And doctor, can you tell us more about genomic testing and what that means?
Yes. So genomic testing essentially looks at the tumor. So the breast tumor itself, we profile that tumor to tell whether using a combination of genes to tell whether or not that patient's tumor has a higher or lower risk of recurrence. And that information is very crucial when we're sitting down with a patient to have that discussion to determine whether or not a patient will benefit from chemotherapy or not. So that information, as you can imagine, getting it right is a big deal to be able to tell that patient and reassure that patient, for example, you have a low risk of recurrence, and we think that because of X, Y, and Z factors, we can safely avoid chemotherapy, or the converse.
And Alicia, I wanted to bring you into the conversation as well. You're a breast cancer survivor yourself. Can you tell us about your story?
Oh, absolutely. So I was diagnosed at the young age of 33, and I was expecting my first child when diagnosed, and I also had no family history. So my oncologist had the Oncotype genomic test done, which when my scores returned, it said I was at an elevated risk for reoccurrence. So he wanted to aggressively treat it with chemotherapy as well as having me terminate the pregnancy. But I opted to seek a second opinion, and I met with another medical provider who had just returned from a symposium where he learned about the MammaPrint genomic test. When I received my scores back from that, it actually said I was at a less than 10% risk for reoccurrence, no matter how large the tumor may have grown. So he prescribed a treatment plan of no chemotherapy. I was able to have my daughter and then start treatment after delivery. When I'm reflecting upon it, I always say that I'm proud that I advocated for myself and I didn't hesitate to seek an additional opinion. I know that some of those other breast cancer patients that I've met, they may be hesitant to do that, but I always tell them you are your greatest advocate. So don't hesitate to learn about different treatment options, about the other genomic tests that are out there. And if you know your medical provider is not familiar, introduce them to it and see if they may be willing to engage those. I mean, just my story alone shows you how there was such a change in the treatment options from the Oncotype to the MammaPrint, and I ended up choosing what worked best in my favor.
Wow, Alicia, very helpful information. And Dr. Sonia Reed, thank you for joining us as well. For more information, you can visit agendia.com.